Picture this. A camera slowly fades from black as a stunned, invisibly injured wrestler clenches his knee. While the camera slowly pulls out, you see this man isn't merely in training or even in a mixed martial arts fight. No, he's at a large wrestling competition. The figure then slowly gets back to his feet, tosses his wrestling shoes in a trash bin nearby, and says he's done, despite having several more wrestling matches left that day. A close friend then whispers into that defeated man's ear.
So I throw my shoes away. What's the point? And Art Moturi, kids, he comes over and says, listen, it'll be the last time your mom's gonna watch you wrestle. Why don't you get your shoes on?
He's at a crossroads in his life. His stellar amateur career is coming to an end, and his mother is terminally ill with cancer. He goes on to compete with his mother on his mind as news flashes on screen about the murder of his friend Dave Schultz, who he trained with, at the crazed hands of John DuPont by gunpoint. Kerr tries his absolute best as one of the legitimate best amateur wrestlers on the planet to overcome his mental state. But these circumstances are just far too much for any one person to handle. The film then cuts to several months later in July of 1996, while an inconsolable Kerr is at home savoring the last few months of his mother's life, while the two of them watch Kerr's close wrestling friends on TV. The man who ironically beat him at the beginning of all of this, Mark Coleman, winning UFC 10, and then on another channel is Kurt Angle, winning a gold medal at the 1996 Atlanta Games. Then skip a couple months ahead, and now a fully broken man is seen at his mother's funeral openly weeping and vowing to be the best version of himself. Perhaps now he can be the man he wanted to be before watching his mother pass. He feels he failed at the beginning of the year 1996 with his wrestling career, seeing his friends have all their success, and now vows to make something more of himself. Something that is certainly impossible.
You know, after my mom died, I was just devastated, and so I had this attitude where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna put my foot down on the gas, right? And I'm gonna go forward as hard as I can. You know, if I won 5 championships, I should have won 10, right? So I'm in this perpetual wheel of never enough.
Yeah.
So guys, these are the real life circumstances and motivations behind Mark Kerr's reason to fight and put himself through the entirety of this film. It sets up the irony that while Kerr and Coleman are friends, they are literally opponents in both sports for a time, or at least it appears to be that way in MMA as well. And so the movie then follows his unquenchable desire and futile attempts at self-medication for a man trying to literally submit his own grief. So yeah, guys, sorry for the long intro here, but I think it's a real big metaphor for the rest of the film and some missed opportunities that could have been done. By the way, those clips, Chris Van Fleet, amazing interview that he did with Mark Kerr. Some others have put spotlights on this stuff, but I thought it was particularly good, and I do recommend watching the whole thing. Oh, and by the way, I'm in Vegas right now, hence the background at an Airbnb. Supposed to be on vacation, but here I am. But anyhow, the point of all this is these are the things that the movie fails to do. Instead of starting with the incredible circumstances and motivations that shaped the debut of Mark Kerr, the whole reason why he does any of this anyway, they just simply jump to the World Vale Tudo Championships, much like the documentary does. It's almost exactly the same. And so that's probably my biggest gripe about this film. What I feel like this movie does in some ways is traces over the original Smashing Machine documentary, just like you might do in a coloring book. It then makes a few small changes, some of them odd changes. So then everyone involved pats themselves on the back for the Oscar-worthy original film they just now put together, or in reality, their very own Rembrandt that was just traced over to continue the art metaphor. So let me be really clear here. I'm being very harsh about these elements because it is something that feels like it could be so close to being actually great, like incredible, amazing, 10 out of 10 stuff. But because it makes these choices to color along the same lines, it feels like it's just, I don't know, it's just reusing old things where it could be something truly great. So I am being harsh on it because of those reasons, but also I think it's actually a pretty decent film, and I do think it's worth watching. And that's why I did this really long hypothetical intro. It's an example of something that they could have done rather than just doing what the documentary did. actually telling stuff that wasn't caught by the documentary crew on camera, the stuff that went behind it, the motivations, who Mark Kerr really was and why he goes through all these crazy things he does throughout the film. Why does he do it? You don't really know that by the end of the film. So how could I still think of this as a decent film at the end of the day despite all that? Well, there's a lot this film frankly does get right. There's so many lovingly recreated moments, like the UFC sets, the Pride sets, the daises, like all these different places that they go to, even some of the promotional materials. It's incredible. I really absolutely adore these aspects of the film. And on the positives again, I think Emily Blunt and The Rock's depiction of Don and Mark is outstanding and definitely worth watching alone for some of those moments that either happened off camera or didn't make it into the documentary's final cut. It feels like there's enough meat on the bone here to make this film worth watching in my opinion, and their relationship is a chief example of that. There's some really well done scenes between the two in this film. They're kind of the heartbeat of this film. And some of the moments in this film, I thought they couldn't possibly recreate what happened in real life, but somehow they actually did, and some of them actually moved me at points. This film is obviously a roller coaster of a tale if there ever was one, and yeah, these moments are integral to making this film worth your time to watch. So I do think they nailed that for a fair bit of it. And hot take, I actually really like the way they use a lot of athletes. Like, Ryan Bader is not an actor, but for some reason, it just kind of works. Like, is Mark Coleman the most expressive person you've met in your life? So if Ryan Bader comes off a bit stilted in his acting, well, Coleman is a bit stilted in his real life behavior. Like, he's just not that expressive or animated of a person. So yeah, it kind of matches up. Usyk is brilliant as Igor Vovchanchyn. He doesn't have as many lines, but he's outstanding. And there are plenty of other athletes. And that's another one of the things I really like about this film. They used a lot of real people. I wasn't too big on their choice for Paul Varlins, which is the beginning of the film, so that's not a big, spoiler or anything. But they had some weird choices in there, but for the most part, really, really good casting all throughout. Real refs, real fighters, the real announcers, Stephen Quadros. Even at the beginning where they didn't have the original guys, they used guys like Kenny Rice. It's really cool stuff, like legitimately amazing. Oh yeah, and holy shit, is Bas Rutten good as Bas Rutten? Of course he's good as himself, but just as an actor, that doesn't mean he's a great actor. Well, we already knew he was a fairly decent actor coming into this. He actually had some really intense scenes. Like, there's one training scene I don't want to spoil and give everything away for, but he does such a good job of being believable in a scene that just, I don't know, it just seemed like it would have been really hard to do, probably because he really went through it and he's actually a decent actor. So yeah, he actually really stood out to me in this one, even though he's like, 30 years older than he was back then. On the other end of things, I do think The Rock does a really good job here. He actually pulls off some of the more intense scenes. Not necessarily every one of them, but overall, I think he does pull off this role. I just don't really know how much we needed the fake eyebrows, the fake nose. Obviously, it made sense to cover up the tattoos, so some of the prosthetics made sense, but I don't know, at some points, it's actually kind of distracting for me because he doesn't look like Mark Kerr, nor does he look like The Rock there, so I guess it's better to not just be thinking he's The Rock the whole time, even though I kind of did. I see what they were going for. I just don't know if they needed all that, is my point. And yeah, for a film that is oddly choreographing his, life for those 3 years, not to mention with moments that were already caught on camera as they actually happened, there is a surprising amount of authenticity by finding all those real people and recreating it so well and so faithfully to how it actually looked back in the day. So it's a strange mix of that, I don't know, Hollywood feel with, just the love and care of, what A24 is frankly known for. So, they do pull off a lot here. But the most important part of the film, no matter what, is the attention it brings back to Mark Kerr and what actually happened in his real life and the recognition he deserves. This is a channel that has been founded basically on retelling the past. I'm really, really happy the levels and the lengths that they went to put Mark Kerr's story out there. And I think that's basically the most important thing here, alongside obviously making money and making an entertaining movie. But it's not just that, there's Jon Greenhalgh, the guy who put this film together on $10,000 of a budget and got everybody else involved, like John Hyams, who ended up being the director, and all the, fundraising that they had to do. It's just it's pretty incredible to see these guys get a bit of shine off the back of this. And for those that say they already got shine off this, well, the movie came out in 2002 when MMA was in the darkest of the dark ages. Nobody was giving any kind of time to fighters back then. Even when the film came out in the early 2000s, that was still before the sport was popular. So I hope that this film brings attention back to the original. I still recommend the original more than this, but hopefully it means that you get to see that now and you know something about Mark Kerr. Oh, and if you are wondering about the documentary, they will be re-releasing this soon, so keep an eye out for that. Actually, Jon Greenhalgh and I have gotten in contact with each other. He saw the video that I had made before that was a couple months back about this film and why The Rock was making a movie about it. So I definitely recommend checking out his channel. I'll have him linked in the description because he's going to be releasing all kinds of cool stuff, like behind the scenes footage that didn't make the cut in the film, stuff that was maybe too different from the actual focus of the documentary. Really cool stuff. So you'll be seeing that soon on his channel. And of course the re-release, which he'll use all that stuff to promote the re-release. And so I guess it comes back to, what did I actually think in terms of putting a number on it? I think I've seen most people doing between, 7, 7.5 or 8. If I'm feeling really optimistic, maybe I'll give it an 8, but probably the most comfortable is 7.5 for me as well. I think a lot of people have had decent reviews of the film, some harsher, some more positive. I've definitely seen more positive, but 7.5 feels way more like where it actually sits to me. But this is just a first impression video, so you'll see a whole lot more coverage. We'll do some comparisons between the film and actual reality, get into the nitty gritty of it. I might even do some collabs with Jon Greenhalgh just because, I don't know, what that guy's done and is doing is badass. He also did the Foxcatcher documentary, which I can't recommend enough, which is on Netflix. So yeah, lots of good stuff to say. Oh yeah, and sorry guys, this video is so disorganized. I mean, it is a raw impressions video, right? But the ending, I will not talk about in detail, but I actually did like that. So I'm curious, for those that do see it, leave a comment below. What did you think about that ending? For those of you that have not seen the video yet, I don't recommend looking at those comments. Maybe shy away from those, but I liked the ending. I thought it was pretty cool. Some people have really not liked it. Some people have really loved it. It kind of hits either way, doesn't it? So, but anyhow, that's it for me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this helps you make a decision whether to see it or not. And for those that have seen it, I want to hear your thoughts. So yeah, aside from that, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon on the next video. Peace.